Hey, moon lovers. Welcome to another episode of All Things Moon, Lunar Wisdom for Everyday Life with myself, Kelly Jones. And I thought I would just give you a little glimpse of my desk here and my little setup that I have for myself. So we're getting to the end of the roses season now in my garden. So they're a little bit fewer and further in between. And the weather um, is not making for long lasting roses. So they're actually lasting longer if I bring them indoors. I wish you could smell this one here. The scent is just amazing. Absolutely beautiful. And I very excitedly have my new The Inner Temple Oracle by Rebecca Campbell. I was really, really excited for their arrival. They are the Inner Temple Oracle, and I'll just show you them. I don't get anything from Rebecca Campbell for this, but I'm just excited. So they come with this lovely altar stand. So there they go. There they are in a temple. And then because they're new, all the cards get a little stuck together. So I've been shuffling every day and putting a card of the day on my altar. So, card of the day today is Chamber of Forgiveness. And I'll tell you all about why that is appropriate right now in a little while. But I just thought I would show you my altar for the day. And here I am still excitedly burning the solar eclipse candle that I found. But if you can see what it says here, might be a bit backwards on the camera, but embracing transformation. And certainly embracing transformation here at the moment. So, all things moon. This is episode 59. Can you believe it? That I have made it to 59 episodes, which means the next episode coming up is episode number 60. So watch out for that one. That is going to be telling you all about the full moon in Aries that is coming up on the 6th and 7th of October. So that will be on the 7th of October here in the UK at 4:47 in the morning. It will be at its fullest. So I will be doing another separate episode on that for that 60th episode. And in that episode, obviously, I am going to do something special, a special offer for you in that one. But this is episode 59. And where have I been? Okay, so, I would love to be consistent, but I am just not. It's not my personality. I'm a high yellow personality, very undisciplined. I'm a Sagittarius rising, so I start lots of things all over the place and sometimes get on with something and complete it and not with others. And being that I am also a Cancer sun, ruled by the moon, my mood and my emotions are shifting every 2.5 days along with the moon around the month. So, I'd love to be like the same all the time, but I'm not. And I'm very much emotionally led. And also, I have to tell you that last week, on the day of the eclipse, I actually woke up in the morning and I'd lost my voice. Interesting, hey? So I did a wonderful astrology eclipse special workshop at the Wild Retreat for the Equinox Retreat on the Saturday. So that was on Saturday the 20th. And we were outside, but it was extremely windy. So the weather was lovely and we were sitting by the lake and we were all under a lovely canopy. And I have had, I think, over 25 people at that workshop. And very excitedly, at least a third of those were men, including Tom came along as well. So that was a first, because the last time I did a big workshop like that, it was at a women's only retreat. So it was really interesting to see who showed up at a mixed retreat. And it was actually after that workshop, excuse me, that it was the men who came up afterwards and asked if they could choose an oracle card, and were asking me lots of questions about astrology. So um, I really loved that we were on that equinox, that balancing time, that equal day and night, and we were getting that equal interest going on. But the next day, because it was very windy and I had all of those people to hold space for and to speak to, the next morning I woke up and my voice had gone. And I thought it was just overuse of my voice. But it's never just that, is it? And actually turned out to be a solar eclipse clear out. So we have had, since I last saw you, the solar eclipse in the sign of Virgo. Virgo, I did tell you all about this in the last episode, so I'll link that to this. But Virgo, very much about our well-being, our health, our daily routines, being of service. And I couldn't be of service because I needed to look after my health. And I believe that what happens is I've had such a challenging time with these eclipses. There's been so much emotion that my body was literally having a clear out from this area and from here. So from my heart up to my head was literally full of, oh, gross. So I did do an online moon ceremony, but I really, really had trouble speaking because my nose was so blocked and my throat was um, irritated. But I held space that evening, and then I had to I managed to go gardening that week, but I didn't teach any classes. I just rested. I didn't go to my dance class, which is always a downer. But I did, as much as possible, take care of myself, because that is what the signs and the symbols are all about. And there's no point in me sharing all this with you if I don't take my own advice. So, where are we this week? So, we had the solar eclipse happen on the 21st. And then on the 22nd, we had the sun move into out of Virgo into Libra. At the same time, we had Mars move in to Scorpio. So a real obvious shift in energies, literally on the eve of an eclipse. So Mars entered Scorpio. So Mars left Libra, where it had been for a while, um, bringing our sort of awareness to others and action that we take with others. Um, but Mars entered right on the equinox. So as the sun moved into Libra season on the 22nd, straight after a very intense solar eclipse, the energy from summer of fun and heat really changed into a very palpable weight of the harvest. What we reap, we sow. So, yes, it smells of apples, and oh, I must remember to go into the garden and collect some more of our autumn raspberries, because Tom is away this week. He has gone foraging for mushrooms in Wales by himself. So I'm getting multiple photos at the moment of different kinds of mushrooms. There seems to be an abundance where he is. So he's very happy there. And I've got to tell you that I am very happy having space for myself to focus on myself. And that really is what I have been doing more than anything, because it has been needed more than anything. And even though talking about the weight of everything at the moment, the one thing that really feels empty for me right now is my sense of like, it's almost like we can have an overspilling cup of confidence, and then all of a sudden it tips up and breaks, and all your confidence is gone. And it's a bit like um, the leaves suddenly falling off the trees. One moment they are abundant with leaves, and then the next minute they're all dropped onto the floor. And that really is how this eclipse season has, that's the effect that it's had on me, that my confidence, my self-confidence in myself, who am I in the world? How can I get it out there? Why does nobody seem to be receiving what it is that I have to offer in multiple ways? Whether that's personally, whether it's professionally, because those eclipses appeared in the 10th and the 4th house for me. So that's the 4th house of home and the 10th house of career. So in my public world and in my home private life, that is what has been showing up, to be seen, to be looked at, to be reflected on, almost to be let go of, surrendered to, and almost like a new beginning, which is what that solar eclipse in the sign of Virgo in my house of career must surely mean, that I have to have a fresh outlook, a new start, to start again, to look again at it, to have another go. So I'm just going to have a sip of my drink, because as you can probably hear, I'm still a little croaky. So I have got a lovely dirty chai in here, made with some nice oat milk and some cinnamon on top. And that has got loads of lion's mane mushrooms in it to help me to focus, because I've been so discombobulated and emotionally pulled all over the place recently. So it's been very, very hard to sit and focus on what I want to share with you. But here I am showing up. So forgive me for the lack of fluidity in my sharings. Back to Mars in Scorpio. So Mars has not been in the sign of Scorpio, and I double checked this. I went back in time, and Mars has not been in the sign of Scorpio since about the same time in the autumn of 2023. So we haven't had this scorpionic Mars energy for a couple of years. So we've kind of, what have we not had the use of? Because we could paint a bad picture of it, and I'm always going to tell you both sides of what that energy can bring and what is preferable to use it for. But it's a powerful, powerful spirit, Mars in Scorpio. So Mars is traditionally the ruler of Scorpio. So before we could see those outer planets, and in the modern way of astrology, we've made Pluto the ruler. I don't see Pluto as being the ruler of Scorpio, but he is definitely associated with Scorpio because they have lots of things in common. But Mars is really in one of his homes when he's in Scorpio. So we know that Mars is associated with Aries more than Scorpio these days. But it's both of his rulerships. But the energy of Mars in those two different signs is quite different. So if you think, when Mars, the red planet, is in the sign of Aries, you've got that fire energy. So it is much more, because Mars can be very cutting and very sudden and impulsive. We know that Aries can be impulsive. They're the pioneer, the leap of faith, the go first, and sod the consequences, I'll deal with them later. So Mars in that sign could be much more impulsive, much more fiery, and much more direct. But when Mars is there, because of the action that he wants to take, he'll do it with much more courage, with bravado, with spontaneity, and, with zero hesitation. It will just go for it. Whereas when Mars is in Scorpio, remembering that Scorpio is the suspicious one, they always want to see what's going on underneath. They always want to get to the bottom of things. They never trust straight away. So they're not going to go steaming into something. They're going to be slower, more strategic, like a chess player, a few moves ahead. So they're not going to go charging in or bold. They're going to wait for the exact right moment before they sting with that precision. Yeah. Very, very precise. So Mars in Scorpio is teaching us more about being more sort of laser focused, and to channel that Mars type desire, passion, and emotional intensity in a much more resilient way. I'm just looking at that word on this candle, embracing transformation. Scorpio is very much about transforming things. The alchemist, taking something and transforming it into something better as if by magic. So that's what we want to use this Mars in Scorpio energy for. So, there are a variety of things which I won't bore you with all the details of my own life today, because, every now and again I'll do an update for you on what's going on with me. But it's as if I have been stripped and torn down almost to nothing recently. And if we think of that alchemical process where we want to turn something into something better and transform it to be your own alchemist, then you need to take all of it and kind of melt it down to transform it into something better, like burning, throwing it yourself into the fire to be burnt so that I can come out rising like the phoenix. Yep. So think of this Mars in Scorpio energy like that. Use it for transformation. So if you have something like I've been quite angry and frustrated, and that real sort of, I've really dipped into that Pisces victim energy of feeling very sorry for myself. I don't deserve what's happening. So if I don't deserve what's happening, then why is it happening? It must be happening for me. So what can I do? Or how can I use this seemingly awful situation that I find myself in, where just about every area of my life has gone wrong in some way, seemingly? It feels broken. I mean, I've got it up here. It's a beautiful Lemurian crystal on here, but I can see here she is, she's got to be broken so the light can come out and can get in, and healing it up with gold to make it more beautiful. So hopefully this will be me shortly. These lines and cracks here have felt very dark recently. I'm not going to lie. Let's put her with the altar to remind myself of what this is all for. So excuse me. So I have put some headlines on this podcast: control or surrender, war or peace. And if we think about the fact that we've suddenly got the god of war in the sign, the transformational sign of Scorpio, that may possibly have a sting in the tail. So we don't want it to be warlike. We want to use this Saturn in Pisces with Neptune soon to follow into Pisces, compassion, oneness, unity. We want to bring that sense of peacefulness into what could be considered to be a warlike energy. But Mars in Aries would be much more warlike than it would be in Scorpio. I've also got the words control and surrender, because we also have this chaotic feeling in the world at the moment, which can make us feel very out of control. Um, I've spoken to you before about this, where all I want to do is share astrology and guide you with Strala Yoga. I just want to do those two things. That's what fills me up. On October 11th and 12th, we'll be spending the weekend doing some Strala Yoga training. Tara Stiles and her husband Mike are over from New York, and it will be filling my cup up to go and do that for myself. But interestingly, at the moment, I don't know what it's like in the rest of the world, but in the UK here, there is this just absolutely exponential, sudden trending growth of Pilates reformer studios opening up everywhere. And I have got myself a few hours in another new one that's opening up locally. But, if I'm honest, it's not really what I want to be doing, even though I'm very good at it. And I think I've mentioned this before. But this explosion of Pilates. Now, we could joke about the fact that everyone's got terrible posture from spending too much time on their devices. So an explosion of Pilates is amazing for people's posture and bringing them back to standing upright and opening up their heart space. But also, I've always described Pilates as a control freak's sport. And Pilates is very much about body control. Body control is another way of describing Pilates. So having that sense of control over our own bodies can most certainly help us to have a sense of control over our lives. But how far do we want to take that? Do we want to be too much in control? And when we feel out of control, it can make us feel very frustrated, as if we're failing, as if we can't do it. These are all emotions that I've been experiencing. My inner Virgo moon doesn't like to fail. It likes to be good at things, and it feels as though it's failing in every department of life at the moment. And that's been, it's no surprise that the universe has come along and offered me more Pilates. So, to go and gain some control over my out of control self, but also sometimes to realize that we need to surrender to what is, to be able to take control back over ourselves. So finding that balance between those two things is very much what's going on. So just a couple of things, a few more things about Mars in Scorpio, so we can really use this energy to our benefit. It really brings a desire for depth, for truth, for authenticity. A Scorpio can smell a lie a mile away. They can see right through your act, which is why a Scorpio, a very Scorpionic person, doesn't trust that easily, because they need to find somebody that they feel safe with, because they are honest and authentic. And, me, myself, I do not feel safe around a lack of authenticity. I can feel that untruth, that fakery. I can feel it in my body. So sometimes mostly a gift, sometimes a curse, but it's like a warrior. If you think of Mars as the warrior, but Scorpio is the shadow. So it's the warrior in the shadows, like a little ninja hiding in his dark outfit. It will give us a really laser focused, unwavering drive for our desires, but also can bring power struggles. So what we saw on, I think it was on the 24th, just after the equinox and all that, those changes into a different season, we saw a square from Mars and Pluto. Ugh! And, I'm glad that energy is over. It was only like a short burst of that energy, but thank goodness that has passed, because that power, control, struggle would have felt really strong at that time. That Mars in Scorpio straight away in a square to Pluto in Aquarius. What that energy would bring up is, we may have seen the manipulation that's been going on, the hidden agendas that people have, destructive impulsion. Yeah, destructive. But we want this to be transformative, not destructive. That's what this can be used for. So I think I've said enough about that. Today, we have Mercury is at 22 degrees of Libra and forming a square to Jupiter, who is 22 degrees in Cancer. So a bit of a 22-22 scenario there. And any of you who have bought anything from me and join in any of my things will know that I love my 11 and my 11s and 22-22. And 22-22 was a magical number for me in many, many ways. It's also a master number numerology wise for me. But today, particularly, Mercury opposite to Jupiter. So Jupiter is to do with our beliefs. Remember, it's expansive. It can make you over something. So, and Mercury is how we communicate to others in Libra. Yeah. Cancer is very sensitive. So we need to be sensitive to how we communicate, to not over promise, to not over exaggerate, it could cause some over optimism, because Jupiter is very optimistic. So it could cause you to be like a little bit too over everything in your communication style. It could cause a bit of tension, a bit of friction, because it's a square. Squares are challenging. But it also brings an opportunity for growth. Jupiter, it wants to grow you. It wants to expand. It wants to make you more abundant. It wants us to heal past tensions, particularly with how we communicate. Be very mindful of how you communicate during this square between Mercury and Jupiter. It could, because it is the big picture, Jupiter, it could make it a little bit difficult for us to narrow things down. You're seeing that I'm having trouble with the details today. So how to narrow things down and give smaller, more precise details. It could cause us to be maybe a bit indecisive or procrastination. I'm super good at that anyway. So what's the time? It's 2:30 in the afternoon, and I was going to do this podcast in the morning. So there you go. It's totally got me. But yeah, you really could do with working on your concentration levels. So hence the lion's mane. Finally, on the 4th of October, so before the full moon coming up in Aries, we have got Venus on the south node. So remember, where the south node and the north node are is where the eclipses happen. So we've just had that south node eclipse in the sign of Virgo, and we've got Venus in Virgo, and Venus is now going to be conjunct. So that's right on the south node in the sign of Virgo. So Venus is in her full. She's not at her best in Virgo. No, Virgo is the perfectionist, and Venus just wants to sing and dance and be beautiful and not worry about all of that perfection. She wants to splash her paint everywhere and create art. She wants pleasure. Virgo can put off pleasure in the pursuit of perfectionism. Yeah. You know, I will have fun once I have got this right. The South Node is about things going away, about decreasing, becoming less. Yeah. So it could be that our self-worth feels less. Our way we value ourselves might feel less in this energy, a decrease in pleasure. But really what it's wanting us to do is look at our karmic patterns in our relationships, in how we value ourselves, our health habits, Virgo, our digestive system, our dietary habits. It could be how we value ourselves. It could even be having a look at our finances as well. Venus is the goddess of love and beauty and longs for true connection. But in Virgo, she's having to be more precise and very, very hard on herself. So you can see by being hard on yourself, you are taking away your pleasure. So, rather than just getting dressed up and going out and having a good time, you're criticizing yourself because you're worried about wearing the right thing or looking good enough or feeling good enough, not having the right shoes to go with your outfit or, not even going and just going anyway. So I just saw an old memory of me at a V festival in Chelmsford. And on this memory, it said, "Can you believe that I'm at a festival and I'm completely sober?" Now, this was many, many years ago, but I do remember at the time that I had a similar thing going on to now, and I was being challenged from every direction, but particularly financially. But my friend had a VIP ticket for V Festival, so I got to go there for free, but I didn't have any money to spend. So I just bought a bottle of water and I made that last me all day, and I still had a really good time. Whereas I could have said, no, I can't go because I can't afford it. I don't have enough money. Yeah. So that's the kind of thing that could come up here. But it's basically going to expose our old programming, that stuff that we need to move on from, that we need to let go of, that drive for over perfectionism, that real being hard on ourselves, self-critical. I know that I can be very much that way myself, about putting this out here. This is why I procrastinate on putting this out here. I put it off because I have to sit down and get my notes together and decide what I'm going to say and get it right. And then in the end, I get fed up with myself and I just come on here and do it anyway. But, just letting go of those unrealistic expectations of ourselves and just being ourselves. The South Node is where we surrender. So, Virgos love to be in control. They don't like being out of control. But the South Node is where we surrender. So there's that control, surrender, title, yoga, where we lie down in Shavasana and surrender, Pilates, where we have control. You know, we need to detach and let go of what no longer serves us. So what are you letting go of? What is letting you go? What no longer serves you? We're being invited to notice, what state is our heart in? What state are our relationships in? Oh my God, mine's so broken. It's been hard for me to come on here without being emotional. So a lot of the time I have gone to do this, and it's hard for me to speak to you all without some emotion coming up. What have you been learning about love? What have you been learning about relationships? What have you been learning ultimately about yourself through all of this? These are all questions to journal on and around. Simplifying would be the best thing to do here. So Strala Yoga, I always return to that because it is simplifying. And can you believe it? This week, my teacher is doing a 7-day meditation challenge. And her first one was to break up with our need for, no pain, no gain, of overworking too hard, being too hard on ourselves. So that was the very first day. So I joined in that today, perfect timing, as I have this time at home on my own to share something with you. So I am going to, let's just keep those questions in our minds while I pull some cards. And also just to let you know that this eclipse cycle that we've been in, it's an 18-year cycle. And I was talking at the workshop at the retreat, and I happened to mention that I've been in this house for 18 years, and it was time. Everything that's going on, it's time for me to move on from this house, this home. It served me well, but it's not serving me anymore. Realizing that this is the end of an 18-year eclipse cycle. So how poignant is that? So if you're old enough to look back 18 years to see what was going on for you then, what was coming to an end. So this is the second time this week this is coming out onto the altar. So the chamber of surrender, relinquish control of being over controlling, and surrender to what is happening for you, and use it. Use this Mars in Scorpio energy to transform so that you can have that laser focus on your desires. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I'll be back with you this week with an episode on the full moon in Aries, and I will give you all the details then of our online full moon ceremony and the 60th episode special offer. Have a good week. All things moon, blessings to you.